week for the University of Louisville and for me personally. The resignation of Dr. Schatzel and my appointment as president has, clearly caused some confusion and concern in the community. I understand that many of you want details, more details, but the University of Louisville has a long-standing practice of not commenting on personnel matters. The president of the University of Louisville, Dr. Schatzel, resigned, and we and the Cardinal community and I personally thank her for her service and wish her well. As I said last week, I am very grateful for the University of Louisville Board of Trustees in their faith in me and in my ability to lead this amazing university forward. My heart is here, and I am ready and excited to take this university to the next level. When we talk about the progress and momentum that we have made, I want to talk about some of the amazing things that many of you know. Our record enrollment, 24,123 students this fall. Our previous highest was 23,620 back in 1990. We broke the 24,000 mark. Our deposits for fall semester are up 18%. We expect our enrollment to break that record and be close to 25,000 students. Our retention of our students is up. For example, our incoming fall class this past fall and into spring have persisted at 94.1%, which is 3% higher than the prior year. When we look at the programs that we have developed and the research that we are doing, right now our research funding is $188 million, which is up 7.1% on last year. The work that we're doing in collaboration with our partners in Frankfurt has allowed us to build a new academic building for the first time. We've had dorms and we've had the BAP built, which is an academic support building, but the engineering building is the first academic building that we put up in recent years. And the fact that we are now breaking ground on the new Innovation and Simulation Center on the HSC campus in the fall is a testament to the work and to the progress that this university has made. U of L Health is expanding U of L Hospital, and of course we're opening our cancer center next week in Bullitt County. Certainly as provost, I've been very much involved in leading our new strategic plan. Our 2030 plan will guide the university till 2030 and beyond, and I am excited to be on that process and to be a part of that process as president. I will be working with the provost and all the community partners within the university to develop that plan over the summer and into the fall so that it will be ready for approval by the Board of Trustees in January of 2026. So I'm excited about the momentum. I'm excited about the opportunity. I think I'm ready and excited to go forward. People change, but our mission does not. And our mission is to achieve preeminence as a premier research metropolitan urban university. So I could go on and on about our successes, but I'm going to stop there and give as many opportunities for questions as I can. So again, thank you.
What is one area where you might like to see the university contribute more on like a national scale to research projects?
Great question. One of the things we have that we recently got was the CTR grant, which we had been in the process of nearly 25 years applying for that grant, which is a major center grant. And that will allow us, with institutional investment, to really, I think, elevate the research enterprise, particularly in the health science space, right, across the School of Medicine. But when I think of the opportunities, not only in the School of Medicine, but I also think of the incredible opportunities that we have on Belknap campus. Within the area of engineering, we of course have clusters of excellence, and within arts and sciences, and in all our colleges. But I think one of the things that we spent this past year on was developing a research plan around, a 5-year research plan around discovery. And that will fit in under our umbrella of our main plan. But we talk about clusters of excellence that we are going to promote. And I really do believe that, you know, when you create a plan, you've got to invest in it. And I think one of the things that will be clear to see as we move forward is that we will be putting money where our strategic priorities are. We will be strategically allocating. So I think, you know, we need to increase our research profile and our funded research.
You said CTR grant?
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
I don't want to give you the wrong translation for it, but I can get it to you.
Okay.
Can you talk more specifically about your overall vision for the university and how that aligns with, what they want?
Yeah. You know, I guess it's kind of unusual because usually a new president comes in and they talk about their new vision. But the reality is, of course, I've been a part of the university for 9 years coming up this summer. So I think I have a unique perspective in that I've been involved in the current strategic plan is actually administered out of my office. And so from the standpoint of what my vision is, I think you kind of see it clearly in the strategic plan that we have, which is all around, you know, when you think of the pillars of work, learn, invest, and connect, or discover and connect, and these are our 4 pillars. So for me, I've always been passionate about student success, student retention. As a first-generation student coming to this university where we have 38% first-generation Pell-eligible students, and really moving the needle on social mobility, about making that transition from students to actually finish with a degree and going out and really changing lives. And to me, I would see the future around us as our vision is we need to have more students on this campus, and we need to graduate more of them. And our goal, and my personal goal, is to continue to increase enrollment, to increase our retention efforts. Our 6-year graduation rates have been rising steadily over the years, but we will have a laser focus on interventions and support services that will really advance our students. We all know the devastation that COVID has had on our student population as regards to learning. So we know that students coming in have gaps. And we have been very intentional about creating summer bridge programs and efforts to bring those students to the level they need to be able to graduate. And we're seeing that work. As I mentioned, the persistence level's up by 3% in 1 year. That was our record year prior to that. So I really do feel committed to this work and passionate about this work. You can't have a strong university without a strong research, and I think our R1 status is something that we have to really invest in, and we have to diversify. And again, that's a part of where I would see we would be going with the next strategic plan, is developing clusters of research that will bring preeminence to the university. Cybersecurity and AI is an area we're looking at right now. We've received a very generous support from the state for $10 million in this current fiscal year, and we see this as an opportunity to launch an area where we will have potentially a national presence in and expertise in.
Last night, the faculty senate asked you a few questions about DEI policies from the government.
Yeah.
What would you say to faculty and students who are afraid that this federal and now the state law that we have related to DEI environment would hinder their experience in academia, whether through their field of study or personally being on campus?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, and I think, you know, when we go back to my comments about our mission not changing, and I think, you know, one of the things we have talked about is a sense of community of care, right? That we are an inclusive, belonging environment. No matter what belief you have, what your color is, what your gender is, we are going to build and continue to build a culture that gives people a sense of belonging, and we have to meet people where they're at. So in relation to House Bill 4, we're still working out the language in the bill because, we have questions about it. And when I speak for we have questions, I'm talking about all of the presidents in the universities across the Commonwealth are still trying to get clarification as this bill was finally dropped and override the veto about what that implementation is going to look like for June 30th, 2025. And so we're working diligently as a group among the presidents to get more information on that. And clearly, our intent is we will comply with the law, but we will clearly continue with our mission, which is to make every person feel like they belong here, that they are a part of our community. And that means, different things for different people. And I think we have to be meeting people in those spaces, and we have to support them.
Do you think complying with the law would hinder comforting citizens?
I think people have concerns, and I think it's our job to allay those concerns, right, is to do everything we can, again, to create an environment that they feel belonged and listened to. And one of the things that I've endeavored to do, or I've committed to doing, I should say, is that I'm going to be doing a listening tour across all of the units through the summer into the fall. It'll probably take me all of this calendar year to visit every units. But what I want to do is, along with the provost, is to meet with faculty on their own, staff on their own, and then separately meet with student groups at different times during the course, working with SGA. Because I want to hear, the concerns, and I want to hear where the gaps may be, and our job is to meet them in those gaps, right? And so I'm very, very committed to the fact that the mission of this university has always been around being an inclusive, belonging community, and that does not change.
President Bradley, I'm sure you've seen that there have been hundreds of students across the nation who have had their student visas revoked. These are international
Yeah.
students. Many of them have been linked to pro-Palestine protests. I'm wondering, have there been any instances of this at the University of Louisville, and how the university is supporting students who fear that their speech might land them in a similar situation?
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part of your question.
How is the university supporting students who fear that?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Absolutely, and clearly there's a lot of concern out there around, particularly international students about, what is their status and what will it be if they leave the country or come back. So our International Student Affairs Office is working very closely with all the students about giving them, support and advice about, what happens if they leave the country and they try to come back. And so we're trying to, provide the best advice. We can't restrict students from travel or anything like that. So we really want to make sure that we are there to support them. And they have concerns, but we have not had a situation where a current student has, been impacted, to my knowledge. As of this morning, we've not had any students that have been impacted. We've had a lot of, because of the fear, we've had rumors that, there were ICE on campus. We have not had any incident at all on our campus that has impacted. I know that we did have situations where students were coming in even last summer into the country on a visa to attend that were stopped and sent home. I mean, we did have a couple of students that had happened to. And again, understanding the process that getting a visa does not mean you have clearance through Homeland Security. So when you come into this country, Homeland Security have to clear your entry. So these are things that we're advising students on about, what are the processes, what are the ramifications of if you leave, what is the status of your visa. And I think we've been there to support our students, and I think we will continue to support our students, because our international students are, I'm an international student myself, are an important part of a population of students we want to attract to the University of Louisville. And we will continue to support those international students and hopefully increase our international enrollment as the years go by. Thank you.
What role do you see the business community playing in the university during your tenure? Have you had a chance to reach out to any of the
Yeah, sure. Great question. And, as interim provost, I actually got to interact a lot with GLI and with some of the business community members here. And as a matter of fact, I'm meeting with the mayor tomorrow because, the University of Louisville and the city are so interconnected. We've got to build relationships. And in these challenging times in higher ed, I mean, the higher education model has never been so challenged before as regards enrollment issues, enrollment decline, enrollment cliff. We've got, potential cuts in Medicaid. We've indirect cost recovery cuts that are really challenging our business model. But this is the time when you actually, if ever there was a time, you build relationships, and you build relationships with the community, you build relationships with the city, you build relationships with our legislative partners in the House, in the Senate, and in the governor's mansion. And our role really is, as a state entity, is to work with the business to raise. Both ships rise. As the university rises, I think the city of Louisville rises. And one of the things I'd love to do, and I'm excited to talk to the mayor tomorrow about, is the idea of how do we increase the relationship between the university and the city. And there are a lot of ways we've been looking at that. For instance, we have the potential of a research park area behind the Speed School of Engineering. But we've also got some spaces downtown that may provide areas of, could we do an innovation hub? Could we provide an area where our academic research faculty could really interact with business folks, particularly around the things that we have common interest in, which is around digital technology, cybersecurity, I'd mentioned already, AI. I mean, these are areas where I think we have a lot of opportunity to partner with city business, and we know that they have a great interest in that. A lot of the current things we've been doing in the College of Business, for instance, have been around in response to some of the demands from business, was creating a hospitality minor because of the tourism industry, right? So we really are conscious of our partners in the community and listening to business folks about what are their long-term workforce needs, right? And aligning our programming to fit those needs. I mentioned to the students this morning that between 1940 and 2025, 60% of the current jobs did not exist currently in 1940, right? Now, when we think of AI and digital technology and all the changes, that change is not going to be another 80 years, right? So we've got to really think about how we've got to be innovative going forward and give our students and our business partners the skills that they will need in this new AI world that we are all journey we're all on.
The cost of education has gone up exponentially since living memory, basically.
Yeah.
Is there any movement to make it more affordable for people to come?
A great question. It's like everything when you go to the store, right? Everything is rising in costs. And of course, keeping our tuition as low as possible has been something that I think the Commonwealth of Kentucky has made a strong commitment around. So for instance, if you look at our tuition increases over a biannual period, because as you know, they're set on a biannual period. Right now, 5% over a 2-year period, at 2.5%, say, if you spread it out, that's not keeping pace with the cost. The actual costs are rising faster than that. So for instance, if you look at our financial statements and you look at the cost of our instruction, it went up by 6% between FY23 and FY24. Our instructional support costs, which include tutoring, mental health support services, that went up by 12%. If you look at our library subscriptions that we're doing, they're going up by nearly double digits. So as you can see, we're trying to minimize those costs by other levers. We're using, best practices around other levers, endowment spends, partners in the community that provided scholarships, that come back as endowments or gifts to offset general fund increases. So the cost of tuition is really important to me, as a president, because I know unmet financial need is the greatest barrier our students are having. So I think we've been very prudent around the tuition increases and the fees. I came from a prior institution that it was 3 times more expensive to get a degree. Now, it was a private institution, right? But I think when I look at the commitment we have here and the service and the quality of the academic programming, I'm just amazed at what's going on here at the University of Louisville. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Similar to what he was kind of mentioning, it's like a small follow-up question. There have been some small increases in fees. So, for instance,
Yep.
$10 surcharge per credit hour for every online class member students. There have also been a report earlier in the year about Creative Cloud potentially being taken out of service. So, should students expect, or maybe not expect, but do you foresee maybe slightly higher costs as time goes on?
Yeah. You know, as I mentioned, I mean, costs are going up, so we do have to make choices. And I'm happy to say, you know, because of the fact we were up 900 students between last year and this year, and the fact that I think we'll be up by another 700 or 800 students by the fall, unlike other universities, they're making more drastic cuts or raising more fees and tuitions. I think we look at every dollar as a dollar out of a pocket of a student, and we try to make, our leadership team is decisions around that. And it does mean we will have to make choices and maybe cut things that maybe not students are benefiting from to the greater level, right? So I think that fees will continue to increase, just like the cost of gasoline and things will go up. But I certainly, our commitment is to certainly limit those to as little as we can and look at other areas first to offset any increases, but then, of course, you know, we will have to increase fees where costs are rising in a particular area.
The sports landscape's changing a lot.
Really?
Changing a lot, yeah.
Really?
You know, there's potential lawsuits on the horizon.
Yeah.
You know, NIL, paying players, things like that. How involved do you expect to be in the athletic department? And
Very involved.
how do you see approaching those challenges of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, amazingly challenging environment we're living in now. And I mean, I was on an ACC president's call there on Tuesday discussing these very things around the upcoming verdict from the judge around the NIL settlement. And I expect to be very, very involved in it because clearly, you know, it's an important part of our brand. Athletics is one of the things that clearly people identify with the Card and the Card Nation and the amazing successes that our programs have had, particularly this past year. And so knowing that the NIL landscape and what the cost will be is changing the business model clearly of the whole area. So Josh Hurd and I, you know, he's a part of the leadership team. We will be working very closely together as we look forward to not only, you know, the settlement but moving forward to develop a business model that's sustainable for the athletics program. And so I have worked with Josh. I was kind of joking with him. We both started as interims together. He was the interim AD and I was the interim provost. And so now we've both been in the position permanently. But I think, you know, this is going to be an area where we're really going to have to give a lot of attention to. And it's an important part of our overall budget because, you know, I support athletics. It's an amazing part of our brand. It's what brings students, quite frankly, from other states that see our brand and the fact that we have got an exciting program. And these are our students, and they are our students just as any other student. So I'll be working hard to support athletics during this transition.
I apologize for asking a bit of a second-hand question, but if you're willing to answer it, some people have expressed concern that you were just appointed president and not interim president,
Sure.
and maybe that it wasn't a super extensive search. Do you have any comments on that?
Understood, and completely understand why people would ask that question. And clearly, you know, I can't speak, you know, for the board because this was not my request or anything that I initiated this. But I think from the standpoint of stability of leadership at this point in time, you know, when you put an interim into a position and when you have a lot of things going on, and as we've mentioned, there are a lot of things going on with NIL things going on. We have Medicaid cuts, we've got indirect cost recovery cuts, and we've been on a mission. And I think we have been on a mission that's been documented for the last 3 or 4 years. And again, I think the board felt that this was an important step to appoint somebody for a period of time, but not a long contract, but a period of time so that the faculty and the community could provide input on certainly my performance during the course of the next several years, which I welcome. I mean, I'm a results-driven person, and I'm very comfortable with the fact that, you know, the way my contract is structured, you know, it's a 3-year contract, and at 2 years we will review. There will be a review process, and I welcome that.
Were you contacted directly by members of the board following the resignation?
I was contacted clearly when the board were during their period of time when they were making their decisions, not only about the president's resignation, but about having me. So I'm not sure of the timing of the context, but it all happened very, very quickly, as you can imagine.
What should the scope of communication look like to students and faculty around the university from your office? Constant?
Yeah, I think, you know, for those who know me in the dental school, I had the Dean Weekly started. That was an email I would send out weekly. And, you know, so far this week, I've been 2 weeks on the job, I've sent out 2 communications. And my goal, and John and I will work on a communication cadence, but I do feel that weekly touch from the president out to campus community is an important thing, to update the community on what we're doing. I'm also committed to, you know, clearly, as I mentioned, doing the listening tours and to being more visible. So each day I've tried to have one meeting where I'll do a walking meeting. So if they come to me, they got to have their walking shoes on, because what we'll do is I'll try to walk around the campus and walk into the SACs. So, you know, clearly, so if people even see me, they, you know, none of them, most of them don't even recognize me still. So they just ignore me, and that's okay too, I guess. But you know, so I want to be seen as being part of the community, and not, you know, kind of hidden behind an office. You know, clearly there's a lot of work that has to be done that the Board of Trustees want me to do. So, but I'm going to endeavor to be more visible, and, you know, to really get a chance to really interact with the community. Because as I told the McConnell Scholars this morning, my most fun part is when I'm meeting the students. And with the students, because, you know, that's why I get up every morning is for the students. So thank you.
The NIH installed a policy a couple of weeks ago that would decrease the amount of funding that universities can use on their spending for research. If that policy survives the courts, how do you foresee that impacting faculty and research labs?
Yeah. Great question. Again, you know, we just met with it this morning to discuss that. You know, for those of you who may not be aware, the indirect cost recovery rate that we get from grants is 57% currently, and right now the proposal is for that to be cut to 15%. So, of course, we immediately did an analysis of what would the fiscal impact be on our budget going forward, and what would be the impact on the people. And so we've done a scan of our grants that are currently in place, and then grants that we anticipate will come up for renewal over the next 6 to 8 months as we think about how that's going to be managed. And, you know, as you're all aware, we did a hiring pause primarily as a protective measure for the university. We did it to make sure that we're currently in strong fiscal position, but we also want to make sure that we have the fiscal reserves until we figure out where this is going to end up. Because, you know, there's a lot of discussion where this will end up. I don't think anybody thinks really that it'll be 15% at the end. I mean, the Senate will have to, you know, there's a continuation reconciliation bill until the October. So assuming that, you know, maybe the number is somewhere in between, you know, so we're doing scenario planning on all those numbers, right? And obviously the number will be what the number will be at the end. So we're trying to be strategic and planning about how we can offset that, and how can we take care and continue the mission and protect our people as best we can. So I don't know what I can't predict what I can't predict. And so, but we're doing a lot of scenario planning around that. And of course, you know, we want research as a critical part of our enterprise. And I hope that we will be able to have a sustainable model that will allow us to continue the great work that we're doing. You know, as I mentioned, we have $188 million in funded research. That's an amazing return on our research expenditures, because we really expend over about $220 million to generate that $180 million. That's actually a phenomenal number. Most universities spend 3 times or 4 times what they bring in to get that amount. So I think we've been very strong stewards of our resources, and we've also shown to be great output from those resources. So I hope that that will continue.
Probably take one or two more. The university recently purchased the shopping center in the middle of campus there.
Yeah.
It used to be Laundromat and Grace Bookstore.
Right.
I know at one time it was slated to be a Target and a hotel.
Yeah, you're right.
Any ideas for what you'd like to see at that property?
Yeah, I mean, we've a lot of ideas, and of course, ultimately, we'll present some ideas to the Board of Trustees, so I won't say what is definitely going there, but what some of the ideas, as you mentioned, there was a Target, there was a hotel, part of that, there was, kind of a mixed-use building proposition as well. Right now, we're giving some serious consideration to a dorm, to have a dorm in there with some mixed-use shopping, so that we could help our students have access to services with potentially, some parking, underground parking as an option. We're growing at an incredible rate, right? And we also know that we have 2 dorms that were built back in the 50s and 60s that we need to take offline. And so this would be an opportunity for that. And it's at a wonderful part of the community, right? It's the showpiece entryway into the university. And it's right where we have the other dorms, and we also have the Grillville and all the eateries that we have around there. So that's one of the options. So we're very excited to purchase that property, and we really are excited about what the opportunities are for there. But there's one example that I'm really interested personally right now, but we'll do some more exploration on options, and we'll present hopefully an opportunity for the board to weigh in and vote.
This is similar to a previous question that was asked earlier, but how does the university plan to protect students' free speech and the rights to express their opinions and not have
Yeah.
trouble, obviously, with them?
Right, yeah, I think it's a great point, and I think there's always a sort of a chilling effect when people feel like, you can't speak, or are you allowed to speak now, are you going to be targeted? I mean, I think, we as a university, and universities in general, have always been a place of free speech, and it's sort of enshrined in our academic freedom of curriculum and faculty having that. I think we've been recognized by FIRE as a approved site for where we have been respective of free speech. And so we've had different groups come on campus, and they've been able to, comply with their constitutional right to, have speeches and to have things that we all may not necessarily agree with. And I think that's a fundamental part of higher education and institutions. So I have absolutely a commitment to free speech, and we will certainly honor the Constitution of the United States.